Shabbat shalom. It is Shabbat Vayechi, and he lived. We were reading from Bereshit 15 to 26. It's the very last verses of Bereshit. The Haftarah was 1 Kings 2, 1 to 12, and I picked the Messianic writings reading from Revelations, chapter 7, verses 1 to 14. I could see that some people quite liked it, it looked like it. It's an interesting reading. But I will start today with a question for you. How many sons does Yaakov, Israel, have? It's a trick question. Because I know a lot of you are thinking 12, right? There are 12 tribes of Israel. But if you study the parasha today, you will find that Yaakov actually has 14 sons. He's got 12 sons that are born from his own flesh and blood, and he's got 2 sons that are adopted, Ephraim and Manasseh. And if you know anything about adoption in Judaism, you know that if someone gets adopted, it is as if they were born by that person. They are 100% part of that family. It works for spiritual adoption, conversion. If you convert to Judaism, you're just Jewish as if you would be born to Abraham and Sarah themselves. And it works for physical adoption. The Torah says that Ephraim and Manasseh are just as much the sons of Yaakov as Reuben and Simeon are. So Yaakov has 14 sons. How many tribes are there of Israel? The simple answer is 12. If you want to hear the complicated answer, you'll have to stay awake a little bit longer. But this is what Parasha Vayechi is about: the sons, the tribes, and their father's famous last words to them before he passes. And let's start with Ephraim and Manasseh, because there are some quite interesting characters, I think underrated sometimes. If you have sons, then potentially you're mentioning their names every Friday evening at the dinner table. We can read in the parasha today that Yaakov says that we, Israel, are to bless each other by saying, "May God make you like Ephraim and Manasseh." And we do. All around the world today, we still do. But have you ever pondered why? I mean, there are so many great characters in the Torah that we might want our sons, our young men to grow up and be like. Not like King David, like Moshe. Why does the Torah say we should bless them that they may become like Ephraim and Manasseh? Well, I think I've actually already answered that question. If you would go back and read about these boys, their lives, what they accomplish, who they are, the fates of their descendants, you will probably conclude that there is nothing that makes them stand out very much compared to their brothers. It's about the same story. The one thing that sets these boys apart is just that thing: they are adopted. It's not so much who they were, who they would become, it's this special gift, and it's a free gift. It's very interesting. You know, these 2 boys were young when they were adopted. You have this really cute scenario described in the Torah about how the boys cling to their father's leg, like little children do. Teenagers don't do that. Toddlers do that. Children that are so young that they haven't really done anything with their life yet. These boys don't deserve the adoption, but they get it anyway. They're being adopted into Israel, and I think it's more than that, actually. From what you can understand from this passage, Yaakov is being moved by God at this moment. He's not just talking about himself, from himself. He's being very prophetic. And it sounds like these two boys are showing us the idea of being adopted into the family of God. Freely, miraculously. They got the best gift, really. Just ponder upon that next time you lay your hands on your boys and say, may God make you like Ephraim and Manasseh. They're really very special. Now the other brothers get blessings too. That's the other part of the parasha. Although technically you might not want to call all the things blessings. Some of them are more like curses. Yaakov is being moved by the Spirit. He's seeing the future. He's going from son to son and telling them what their portions in life will be, what the portions will be for their descendants. This is the very start of the tribal system of Israel. This event would come to shape the Jewish existence for centuries. And for the individual, it would determine probably where you would live, maybe what kind of occupation you would have, maybe even who you would marry. It would determine if you would live in peace and prosperity or constantly fighting. And I was thinking about that this week, and I was thinking about the portions that we all have got in our lives. Now, the tribal system isn't really up and running at the moment, and we might not have a portion neatly written down in a book or prophesied over us from our Father, but we all have been given different portions in life, different slices of the cake of human existence, right? There's things that we have and things that we lack. Physical things, like a certain economic situation that you're born into, or maybe a place that you're born in. Things in our bodies, strength, health conditions, things that we are carrying with us, getting reminded of every day, opportunities that are given to us as babies, as children, as adults, and some opportunities that would never come to be real for us. Mental abilities. We all have skills, but we all have limitations as well. That's just how our brains are designed. Things that shape our lives from the cradle to the grave. But here is the thing that I was pondering on. These things shape our lives in so many ways, but they are not what determines who we are and how our lives turn out. You can learn this from the sons of Yaakov. Take Ephraim and Manasseh. They're given this incredible gift, free gift, without even lifting a finger. They're so blessed. And they are given large masses of land when Yehoshua is dividing the land later. Especially Manasseh, he gets a very generous amount. And I do have a map. I think we need a visual aid right now. My assistants, if you can put it up. We will need it. This is the original division of the land, and you can see how massive Manasseh is. And the thing is, at this moment in time, the tribes are not that dissimilar in size. You'd think that some are a lot smaller, and that's why they get smaller lands. Now, if you read in Numbers 26, you can read a census from this time, and you can see that actually there is not that massive differences in the numbers of these tribes. Look at Zebulun, if you can find that little green dot up there in the north. Zebulun has more people than Manasseh. So has Issachar, and so has Dan. More people than Manasseh. And yes, Ephraim is smaller than Manasseh, but actually Ephraim is also smaller than Benjamin. Look at little Benjamin. But Benjamin has more people than Ephraim. You have to agree, they get a generous portion. And you would think that then these tribes, they would have had everything sorted, right? They would rejoice in God every day of their lives, because of all the good things that God has given them, much more than their brothers. But at this moment, when the land is being divided, we can hear that they complain. Actually, Joshua, by the way, was an Ephraimite. So Ephraim here, you could think that he has the upper hand. He'd be happy. No, they complain. They say, we want more land. We want better land, and we don't want that many Canaanites. We want better lot. And what happens later to these two blessed tribes? This is not a history lesson. I'm not going to go through the whole history, mainly because it's really complicated and I can't remember everything. But just ask yourself, where are these two tribes today? Who can claim that they are coming from Ephraim and Manasseh? Surely there is people who carry their genes. I'd be very careful with the word lost here. They're not lost. They are among us, but no one remembers anymore. Rarely do we even speak about them, do we? Except for Friday evenings. Now here's a different example. Levi and Simeon. They do not get much of a blessing from their father. Their father is not impressed with these two boys. They messed up. They helped to sell Joseph into slavery. You might say, yeah, all the sons were complicit in this. But Levi and Simeon were one of the older ones. They were the ones who were supposed to be responsible for their little brother. And they weren't. And later on, they go against their father's wishes and revenge Dinah, their sister. And it was horrible what happened to her. But these two men, they go out and they slaughter every single person in a whole city, even the innocent ones. And Jacob describes these sons as violent and cruel. And he curses them and he says that they will be scattered all over Israel, that they will not have any land. And he says a whole bunch of really negative things as well. You can read it for yourself, but they don't get a good blessing. And we know that these weren't empty words. They come true for both of them. Now, we fast forward to Moshe blessing the tribes before they enter the land. He doesn't even mention Simeon. It's like he's already disappeared from the map. Yet he is on the map, though, isn't he? Where was he supposed to? Why do we see Simeon up there on the map? It says that Judah, they had too much land. Judah actually decided to give a little bit of their land to their poor brother Simeon. Some people would even say that that is not Simeon's land, that is Judah's land. But he's allowing them to live there. And the prophecy comes true for Levi as well. Do we see Levi here on the map? There's no Levi on the map. But his story is actually a little bit different than that of Simeon's. His portion, his curse is exactly the same, but Levi does something interesting with it. I would understand if the tribe of Levi would have been very annoyed with the situation in life. Imagine they're walking through the desert, and it's hard, it's tough, it's painful. They're walking towards the promised land, but there is no promise in the promised land for Levi, is there? They're not going to get anything. No land, they know it. they could have rebelled, actually. You could have understood if they would have rebelled, broken out, made their own way. You could have understood if the tribe of Levi would have been the first ones to bow down to the golden calf in the desert. Try their fortune with this different deity. Maybe the golden calf in the desert would have given them a better portion than God in heaven. But this is not what they do, is it? We know the story of the golden calf. We know that the tribe of Levi are the only ones who does not bow down to that idol. The only tribe who was willing to hold on to God, although it seemed like their leader had disappeared up some mountain and everything was looking very bleak. The tribe of Levi decided to hold on to God no matter what. And it's literally no matter what. And because of this, the tribe of Levi was given this enormous honor to become the priesthood, to serve God in this way. And people today still carry the name of Levi and Cohen, don't they? Most people, even if you have a really long genealogy, for generations and generations your Jewish heritage, you probably do not know which tribe you belong to. Very few people do. But the Levites and the Cohens, at least some of them do. They're not forgotten. Now, if I would ask you to name all the 14 sons of Jacob, and we would close that one down so you couldn't see it, I bet that a lot of you would struggle to remember all 14. But I also bet that all of you would remember to name Levi. However, the portion of Levi, as prophesied as cursed by his father, is upheld. They don't have any land. They never get any land. But even this seeming misfortune turns into something good. The tribe of Levi doesn't get any land, which means they could be spread out over the whole land. Actually, this became a blessing. They could teach, instruct everyone in the whole land about God. That becomes their job. I think it's an amazing story, how something seemingly so bad, having the whole rack stacked against them, could turn into something so beautiful. I have one last example. I said that the tribe of Judah were willing to give up some of their land to Simeon, right? Was the tribe of Judah a small tribe? No. They were the biggest tribe. They were larger than Manasseh. You could say that they were the only tribe who's actually getting a landmass that is proportionate to their size. Do you ever hear them complain? Do you ever hear them throw their weight around? I mean, they are the chosen tribe, the one who's going to carry the scepter. But they don't do any of that. They're grateful for their portion. Actually, what they're doing is that they're looking at all the good things that they've been given, and they ask themselves, with this that we've been given, is there something that we can do to bless someone who's less fortunate? Can we give a home to our poor brother Simeon? And Judah, of course, came to bless many, not just Simeon, but many, the world, richly. We remember Judah, don't we? Of course, we remember Judah. Do you understand now what I mean when I say that our portions in life do shape us, do shape our lives, but it does not determine who we are and our fates? There's this Jewish concept called sameach bechalko. It means to be happy with one's portion, to be pleased with what's once been given. And that is a very important concept. It's the difference between being a Simeon, crushed by the circumstances, or a Levi taking those lemons and making lemonade. It's the difference between being a Manasseh, blessed, but never do anything with it, or a Judah using the blessings for the good of others. It's easy for us to think that if I only had this thing or that thing, then I would be happy. Then I'd be able to do all these things that I want to do. If only my health was better and my wallet fuller and my schedule airier, less busy. Oh, the things that I would do for the Lord, all the things that I would do for people, and I would be so happy. Be happy all the time. Everything would be good with the world, if only. The truth is that there is no one in here who doesn't have wants, who wakes up every single morning and thinking, this is a perfect day. This day I'm going to do everything that I want. Today I can do it. I'll be everything that I want to be. Because we have portions in life, and they are a mixed bag of sweets and sours, of opportunities and restrictions. We all have something, but no one has everything. We are a blessed congregation. I'm looking at blessed people in here. I'm certain that each and every one of you have something that someone else would die to have. Have you thought about that? Maybe you own your own house. Maybe you are in a relatively good health. Maybe you've been blessed to be raised in a safe and functioning family. Maybe you can go to a job that you don't hate. Maybe you have a lot of time on your hands. Maybe you just adopted a gorgeous little puppy. There's a lot of things that we take for granted, but that someone else could only dream about. But on the other hand, there is something you dream about that someone else takes for granted. And it's tough. I know it's tough. I don't think the perfect portion ever have existed, at least not according to our human viewpoint. No, Joseph's brothers, when they were young, they were very jealous of Joseph, right? He was the golden boy. He had everything. He was so special to his father. He was given so many things, and he was seeing visions from God. And then he comes and tells them that one day they will bow down to him. They think that his portion is a little bit too perfect. And jealousy takes over. They sell him to slavery. But was actually Joseph's portion that great? He does get a lot of wealth. His brothers do bow down to him. But Joseph also has to suffer slavery and imprisonment. And not to mention the psychological trauma of being effectively orphaned and having the ones that you should trust, your family, betray you in such a way. While his brothers, they stay home in the peace and the safety, together with their mothers or their father. And actually, in the end, Joseph is great. But who's the greatest tribe? Judah is the greatest tribe, and not Joseph, and not his sons. What can we learn from that? That just because it looks like someone has got a better portion than you, doesn't mean that that is the case. We all have a mixed bag of sweets and sours that we just have to live with. So I promise to get back to how many tribes there is in Israel, right? You're all really excited. How many tribes is there in Israel? Are there 12? It started with 12. But the thing is, the Bible isn't a fairy tale. It's true, and in reality, when dealing with people and real people's lives, things get messy and complicated. And the tribes, the divisions of Israel, changes organically through the centuries. They are practical entities. They don't actually conform to our wishes to neatly categorize them or write nice theological concepts about them. Make these pretty wall ornaments with them, these little drawings with the different symbols of the different tribes. That's not their main purpose. There was 12. But in the time of the judges, there is often only 10 tribes mentioned. There are also times when there is 14 tribes mentioned. And in the end of times, in the book of Revelation that we just read, there is 12 tribes mentioned. But I'm not sure if you realized there are some missing from the original setup. The list in Revelation is not the same as the list in Genesis. Where is Dan? The tribe of Dan is not mentioned. It's gone. The tribe of Ephraim is not mentioned either. Why? Well, I can't tell the future. I'm not going to, to tell you. I don't know what's going to happen to the tribes in the end of times. It hasn't happened yet, but I can tell you what it means. And what it means in this context. It means that no matter what we've been given to start off with, what we do with it is our choice. And how we choose to use what we've been given is what determines our lives. Be like Judah. Take that blessing that God has given you and make it count. Use it for good. Be like Levi. Take that lemon, that issue, that problem, that thing that you lack, and make lemonade. Take whatever portion that you uniquely have been given and make the most out of it. That's what I took from the parasha and the blessings of the tribes of Israel. Shabbat shalom, everyone.
It's interesting when you look at the map. See where Dan is? Gush Dan in Israel today? Tel Aviv. I will just put that out there. It's an interesting one when you think Dan and Ephraim, the hinterland of Tel Aviv today. And just been reading one or two books about sort of possible end-time scenarios. As you know, I've been reading as part of my reading in the last month or so, and they've come up with these ideas and thoughts about the allocations and so on. And there's this question of, where is Dan? What happens to that area in Israel at the end of it all? It's kind of interesting. Tel Aviv. I want to make no other further comment than that, I think, on that one. But it's an interesting one. Thank you, Hannah. That was very, very good. Really instructive on there. And it's good to see how that Manasseh is split there, isn't it, in two places as well. You kind of think it's just that big chunk on the other side, but how it all links together. Fascinating. There's no copyright on this. If you'd like a copy, I'm sure Hannah can give you a printout. She designed it herself during the week. The image belongs to her and to the synagogue.